One more round of applause for this great panel. You know, we talked about a lot of key visitors and VIPs that are here this week. President Reagan was not one that I was anticipating arrival. He did not register for the conference. We'll make sure to get that taken care of. Again, great job there. And those who don't know about the DFC and all the great work they're doing, please definitely look it up because it's really incredible what they're doing. But here to introduce our final panel of the day, and it should be very interesting. I know Jackie Charles just got back from the courthouse here. So excited for this next panel, and here to introduce this panel is Javier Alvarez-Guan from the Gordon Institute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Javier Alvarez, a research coordinator with the Jacqueline Gordon Institute and a reserve officer with the U.S. Coast Guard. A culminating event for the Hemispheric Security Conference titled Defense and Security Amidst Caribbean Uncertainty, Haiti, will feature an engaging conversation concerning the security dynamics and the future of Haiti between the United States Chargé Affairs, Harry Wooster, and the Canada's ambassador to Haiti, André François Giroux. I'll be moderated by Ms. Jacqueline Charles, who is the correspondent for Haiti and the Caribbean at the Miami Herald, a Pulitzer Prize finalist, and the recipient for 2018's Maria Cabot Prize Award for journalism. Please join me in welcoming our guests.
Thank you, ambassadors, for being here, because I know both of you are very, very busy. I wanted to start the conversation with the one topic that is on everybody's mind who pays attention to Haiti, and it is security. We see that the UN recently authorized a gang suppression force, which was heavily backed and led by the United States. And so I would like to just start in terms of where we are with the deployment of that force. There seems to be some bottlenecks, things are moving slow. We'll start with you, Ambassador Wooster. Where are we? And then we will come to you, Ambassador Giroux.
Yeah, so Jackie, you mentioned the notion of bottlenecks. Look, it's important to understand that what we're putting together in the GSF, the Gang Suppression Force, this is coalition diplomacy, and on the one hand, you have that, and then you also have the logistics and the military might of putting together, generating a force, and the logistics attendant with that from multiple countries worldwide. That's a long-winded way of saying it gets complicated. And the fact is that coalitions, you're going to have one or another issue, such as the conflict in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran. This is slowing down some of the logistics, one or another thing. There are always things that you can't build into any planning. But the key thing to bear in mind is that the schedule, in accordance with the UN Security Council resolution, is that we would attain what is called full operational capability, that would be attained by September of this year. So you begin force flow in the summer, which is already underway. We have representatives from all the troop contributing countries, meaning troops and personnel, their initial contingents, who are and have been already on the ground in Haiti. They're doing what we call induction training during the first few weeks when they arrive in country. Once that takes about 2 weeks, and then operations can begin. So we're looking at a June timeline, or possibly later this month, for operations to already begin, and again, reaching full capacity by September.
Okay. Ambassador Giroux, can you talk a little bit about Canada's contribution in terms of the GSF, and do you have any concerns in terms of this timeline?
No, and maybe the first thing I would love to say is that thank you to the tremendous U.S. leadership. Yes, it takes time to mobilize 5,500 to deploy them, but I would say overall, we did it, or we're doing it. And as frustrated as I am in the sense that these things take time, I think we're very much on schedule. So it's something that it's hard to explain, but I think Ambassador Wooster did a wonderful. It is complex. One problem's wait for another one, but what I've seen is definitely the standing group of partner members being mobilized and in problem-solving mode. So from a Canadian perspective, of course, we're joined at the hip with our friend here, trying to facilitate. There are numbers of individuals who are working back in Ottawa, in Washington, in the Bahamas, in El Salvador, you know, helping to design all that it takes to make this force operational. The UN has done a tremendous job, and again, it was not, you know, there was this proposal to go to the UN Security Council, do this UN-supported mission with a very different style of mandate, and the UN has delivered. It is providing the support for the mission as was required. So from Canada's perspective, we feel that there are every reason to be optimistic, cautiously, because, you know, this is Haiti, let's be honest. There will be roadblocks, but I do feel that the fear is switching side, and very soon we will start seeing the results.
And speaking of Haiti, both of you are on the ground. I mean, what do you view as the biggest challenge for the GSF once it gets deployed and up and moving? Start with you.
The GSF has a fairly, it has a defined mandate. It's going to go in with the PNH, stabilize the security situation, detain individuals, and then hand them over to the Haitian authorities. This is where, right now, a lot of attention is going into making sure that once the Haitian authority receive these detainees, that they have the tools, the ability to, you know, to do what is required, you know.
Well, we still don't have a prison.
Well, we are working on that, and this is, to me, this is where the challenge are going to be, right? To make sure that these individuals are, you know, face justice, and are treated with the responsibility that we owe them to for that matter.
Ambassador Wooster.
Let me offer you a slight twist on that, because it falls in line with the same timeline that you're focused on now, Jackie, which is deployment, getting people in. The other side of this problem is that we need to be addressing, working on, thinking immediately, right now. What are we going to do when the guns go quieter? What are we going to do then? That is not something that you can achieve success on in that moment. You need to be doing that work today. It has to be happening, and that's consolidating what Ambassador Giroux is mentioning now in the terms of detainees, a justice system, or DDR, to use the foreign policy speak on it, but additionally looking at the economic angles here, which are really difficult because there's nobody who works in an economic space who doesn't understandably and correctly insist on, well, you got to give me some stability first. But you can't wait to do the planning once you have attained one or another degree of stability. And Jackie, I would also add that the other thing to bear in mind throughout is, what are we doing here? The notion of attaining stability, or to use the term that in the US foreign policy lexicon we use, baseline stability. We are improving the security situation to a standard whereby society and the state, human beings, can function. That's the objective of baseline stability. The state is in charge, not the gangs. It's the state who sets the pace of what that society is doing, not the gangs. Those are the crucial things that we are trying to do now. No, the United States, also no mass illegal migration to US shores. Those are our objectives, and it's important to understand what we mean. I think there are a lot of folks who will often come at this issue, and I've seen this, not with all, but with some analysts, some observers, and certainly not in your case with op-ed writers, but with some I have seen whereby they're expecting the lion and the lamb, in effect the second coming of Christ, to be delivered through some force, which is clearly not the way practitioners of foreign policy think about it. So just want to put that in there as a marker so that as we talk about this whole situation, we understand what we're doing. We are looking to improve security, which means heightened stability. We are not providing an antidote that cures, once taken, all the ills.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually had that as a third question.
I was afraid you might.
But I was going to go to elections, but I'm going to hold off on elections for a second, but to build on what you just said, beyond elections,
Yeah.
and beyond the stability, one well, let's say beyond working in cohesion with the GSF, what are the expectations of each of your governments for this transition that's in place at the moment?
So my new motto is act today, think tomorrow, and to reemphasize the point that was just made. But we do have a unique opportunity. My view is we will stabilize, bring back some security. We will create the conditions for elections. But how do we make sure that that security is lasting? Because the cycle history shows that it hasn't been the case in Haiti. So it's by rebuilding the justice system. It's by making sure that there are economic opportunities. The criminality has become an economic ecosystem. We have to replace it with something else. So our expectations is that the transitional authorities, acting today but thinking tomorrow, will set the foundation for a credible justice system that will go after those who are fueling insecurity, that are financing insecurity, that are creating those crime of mass. And also responsible economic actors that will, act in the benefit of the population, grow the economy, pay their taxes, so that the state has the revenue to invest its own security. I mean, it's not normal that we have to come and help in that way. The Haitian authorities should have the security forces to do so, and they need to grow them and maintain them.
How do we do that without, seeming this very fine line? We don't want to seem like we're reaching. We don't want to seem that we are preaching. Often we see the U.S. gets blowback, right? But how do you convey, how do you make them care? How do you do that in your capacities as diplomats in this country?
Oh, thanks, André. Okay. Look, for us, elections are, among other things, a flashpoint for security, which means it affects our paramount objective, which is stability. So that's the lens through which we look at elections. In terms of, Jackie, if my ear is hearing your question correctly, how do you beat back cynicism?
There's a feeling today that when the government speaks, they talk about DDR.
Which government?
The Haitian government. They talk about, we need to do something about the kids. But I'll tell you, the last, experience that I had in Haiti is where, if 1 in 4 individuals live in a gang-controlled neighborhood, the 3 who don't, they don't see the one who lives there as being a victim. They see them as sort of, it's your fault. And I fear that we're going down this certain path. So it's like giving the political will. So, the government, the transitional government says the right things, but everybody is waiting for the action. And you all don't want to be the ones to say, well, you have to do this, you have to do that. But recently Canada has, voiced some concerns in terms of the justice, some decisions, and we saw the reaction. So, when we're talking about putting in measurables, how do you convey to the government in place that this has to be worth something beyond an election, the ballots?
I think the government, insofar as my interactions with the government, indicate very clearly that they don't need a lecture, if you will, from me or a finger wagging about why. They know why, but it's very hard to be the first mover because of a very predatory political culture. It's very hard to be the first person who's going to, let's say, accountability, which gets bandied about a lot, and impunity. It is correct as a matter of principle and as a matter of the functioning of any political system that, yes, it is true there needs to be accountability for legitimacy. There needs to be no impunity. It is correct. But who's going to be the first mover when any move is going to cost you, and potentially very dearly? Who can be that first mover? It's nearly metaphysically impossible to do that and to survive beyond 2 or 3 moves, because where are you going to find the support to do it? It is, let me tell you, I don't have the answer other than that we continue to build to the degree we are able, and this cannot be only the United States and Canada, but a safety net, if you will, of if you take these very hard actions that require, in the case of decision makers in Haiti, not only moral or political courage, but in, unfortunately, many cases, physical courage, that extends also to families. If you take these moves, we will support you. And then what bank can they go to with that? It's a difficult predicament to put anyone in, even if they wish to, their volition is in the right place.
Now for the tough question, elections. Latest price tag, this morning I was listening, $254 million. They shaved $25 million off of it. On the ground, there are concerns about what will it look like, how will we carry it out, and I'm not gonna, you guys are not the technical guys, so, but just, you know, in terms of each of your respective governments, what are the expectations for elections?
Well, the conditions need to be there, but our expectations is that you've got to plan now and have confidence that security will meet you at one point in the future, and then you'll be ready to proceed with elections. For Canada perspective, we feel that our three priorities are basically, you know, giving back Haitian security, their constitutional and sovereign right to choose their leaders, because nobody, I mean, they're full of good wills, but they haven't been chosen by the population, and we feel that that comes with some legitimacy, and elections will also provide a timeline where a government, elected government, can actually do something, because right now it's you know, I'm only here temporarily. What can I really achieve? So of course, security, elections. But thirdly it's also, as I was saying, setting the foundations for lasting stability. So we're confident that the current transitional government has its eyes on the right priorities and will deliver. But everybody has a role to play. And I would say one of those, I know it's hard, but you've got to believe. You've got to believe that it's going to happen. And you've got to start sticking your neck out, because it's true, the first mover. But I would say it's a handful of bullies who are creating the chaos, but everybody's fearful of their ability to neutralize. But if everybody gets together and say, we're going to start doing things differently, I do believe that there is hope.
Ambassador Wooster.
Yeah, so Jackie, in our case, there's no light, as you heard André mention earlier, there's no light between us on this, and not only amongst the United States and Canada, but a number of the other countries who are involved, the so-called international community. Look, we've got to set conditions to enable, first and foremost. That is, you've heard me say it before, say it again because it's that important. Paramount objective is we've got to set the enabling conditions, which is stability. And once again, I return to a definition of it, which is that you can have credible elections. Please, 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 no confusion here about setting conditions and then saying the word security and stability means there will be a curative. It is not the case, but it is the case that it has to be sufficiently safe that people can go forth and do the vote. And again, that is a reinforcement. The election itself is a reinforcement of the stability objective. I've also heard a little bit between the lines here the question of, during elections, dubious, say, candidates who might be, you know, the prospect of, well, what about this person or that person who's, let's say, infamous, to make it simple, being involved in a political campaign. Our view on this is for, and I think, André, that's what I heard you say, this is an issue for the Haitian people and the Haitian government to decide who is going to be a viable candidate for them. Obviously, there are some numbers of people whom we would hold our nose about. I think they're pretty well known, most of them with a lot of blood on their hands. But at the end of the day, we don't own this. If they were to turn in our direction in terms of any legitimation, we certainly would have views on that as the United States government and in terms of our policy. But this election isn't ours to own, and I want to be early on to make that clear. This is a matter for the Haitian people and the Haitian authorities to decide. Despite the myths and the fantasies that it's our dark hand creeping in from some direction to run it or flip it, this is for them to make determinations about, not for us to issue a diktat on.
But are we giving a lot of credit in a situation where, in an environment where impunity has been the order of the day? At the same time, your respective countries have sanctioned a number of people who have been, as we say, blanchis by the Haitian justice system. How do you reconcile that to a population that, has not been schooled on, 1 + 1 = 2, no fault of their own, but to convey that? I mean, we didn't get here by ourselves. I mean, how do you balance that?
As it was said, we feel that we are doing our part by sanctioning individuals that we feel are contributing to the problem, and we will continue. Our sanctions regime is a dynamic regime. We are always looking for information, and we will do more if we need to, but that's just a way of trying to send a signal that you've got to change your behaviors. But I'm asked, so what next? And I say, well, open investigation. That's what the Haitian state needs to do. I mean, there's hope down the pipeline in the sense that the Presidential Council has set up the decree for those special tribunals. And those special tribunals for financial crime and mass crime are needed because, within one structure, you will have the ability to investigate, to accuse, to judge, to trial, and condemn. So because right now there's too many intercept points in the justice system, but ultimately, as was said, it is for Haitian authorities to do their own part there. We can't do it for them when it comes to, investigate and condemn.
So both of your countries have been very supportive of the Haitian National Police. And in fact, it is because of the generosity of the United States, Canada, France, and a few other countries, the UN, that the PNH, despite all the challenges, has been able to really hold the line. I mean, the state has not fallen because, they've been there. But I've just spent 42 days in a trial on the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse, more than 5 years. And we had to listen a lot on the weakness of our ability to investigate, of the problems. And it was interesting in that courtroom, regardless of where Haitians stood on this question of the president, they all felt very badly when, the argument was made that you can't trust anything, and look how they investigate. And so I asked some of my police friends in Haiti, what is the question I should ask you each? And they said, well, they acknowledged generosity, but it says, could we get them to coordinate a little bit? Could we get a little bit more investing in terms of carrying out investigations? I'm just sort of wondering that, is there an effort to coordinate your respective support of the PNH going forward, especially when we look and see the huge challenge? There's a gang challenge, but there's also a criminality challenge. There's a justice challenge. You hear all the time from the police, we arrested justice release. So where's your respective countries thinking in terms of your future support for the security apparatus beyond GSF?
So for us, it's a priority because we see it as the only way to stabilize and maintain the stability going forward. I will spare you the details, but we are, when it comes to build capacity, to mentor, to provide technical assistance, we are doing it at every step of the way. But ultimately, and this is the feedback I get from my police advisor, there's that glass ceiling, political will, right? And this is why we need those special tribunals. People know what they need to do. It's just the problem is right now there's just too much interference, politically, economically, into the justice chain. So the transitional government has a real opportunity. The tribunals were created, but I can tell you, nobody wants them. Nobody who has influence and power in Haiti wants those tribunals to be successful. We know that, and we see it every day because every excuse is used to delay their implementation. transitional authorities really do have an opportunity to set the foundations of the tribunal once and for all so that they will deliver for the future. But I like to say that I've lost my innocence in Port-au-Prince in the sense that I've seen, people telling me one thing and do the exact opposite the next day, but I haven't lost my optimism.
Thank you. Ambassador Wooster.
It's hard to overcome what André said. I mean, he's spot on. Really, in terms of adding more to it, it comes down at the end of the day, no matter where you are on God's earth, it comes down at the end of the day to, are you willing to pay the price to take an action which you know is doubtless going to be gracious, controversial? Are you willing to do it? And the answer to date, unfortunately, too often has been no.
Okay. As we wrap up, my last question for you, you can pick either one. Either what keeps you up at night, or what would be your word to the transitional government as we move ahead?
I would offer this in terms of what keeps me up at night. What keeps me up at night is the fact that, like a number of problems I've worked on before over the course of my career, Haiti goes into the too hard box. So governments, and I'm here talking outside of Haiti, governments stop thinking about the feasibility, the achievability, the realism of whether or not something can in fact be achieved, because they've already decided it's not possible. And so they don't think anymore. And when that goes into a group, let's use the blandishment, international community, it becomes a cancer. And it's corrosive and it's deadly. And that's where Haiti sits now, because for understandable reasons, we've had fatigue, so-called Haiti fatigue. We get it. There's been chronic dysfunction. People get disheartened, they get disappointed, they get frustrated, they get angry. But it's this placing of the problem set into the too hard box and stopping thinking that not only inhibits but prohibits the ability of action to be taken for a problem that, let's acknowledge, is damn hard, but it's not impossible. It's hard but not impossible. That's one. And the second and last one I would offer is the fact that the problem I mentioned a moment ago, the economy. The economy, you've got to be working. This cannot be this necrotic tissue that is the fabric, if you'll work with my metaphors here, of the Haitian state and of Haitian society that are either dead or dying. They've got to get lifeblood back into them, and that's not going to come through the Haitian National Police. Let's say they were fantastic. It's still not going to come from them. It's not going to come from the UN. It's got to come from an economic basis. It's got to come from a viable society. It's got to come from the ability of a Haitian citizen to believe that they can, in fact, put shoes on the baby's feet. They can, in fact, put food on this table. And they can, in fact, get a roof over their head. They can, in short, exist, survive, live, that can happen. And right now, that's a very dicey proposition for even a generously minded thinker inside of Haiti. That has to be addressed through the economy. And that's a longer exposition of how and what and so forth, but those are the two things that keep me up at night.
Ambassador Giroux?
Very quickly, for me, it's exactly referring to the AT fatigue. We're doing this major lift, and I feel that it's our last chance to get it right. And we can't afford to not to, but we can do it all, as was explained. And we need to make sure that this one, it's lasting, and it will come from, in my view, a strong justice system, but a strong economy as well that will create opportunity that will be more attractive than criminality.
Thank you both. Really appreciate you being here. I know you're very busy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, while we take this picture here, one more round of applause for this great discussion. All right, we're about to conclude here shortly, but I want to do a few special recognitions to all of our partners here for Florida International University who supported Tie the Foundation. I don't know if Mario's still here. Mario Montoto, great partner of FIU, as well as all the different supporters that are here, that have continued to be with us year in, year out. And definitely want to appreciate everyone for sticking around for these great discussions. One final time, I will introduce my brother from another mother, the Vice Provost, Dr. Brian Fonseca.
We actually might be brothers. I'm not sure. It feels that way. I'm here for two reasons only. Reason one, I want to thank you all for being here. By the way, this is the hardcore group, those that stayed in the trenches all the way through the program. And I appreciate you all being here. I mean, this has been an enormous lift. We're talking 3 days of programming, actually 3.5 days of programming, 80 plus speakers, incredible thought leadership covering an amazing ground of competition and challenges, and more importantly, policy options for the region. We had 16 side events. They included our students, bilateral meetings between officials from regional and U.S. governments. And so it's been an incredibly powerful day. So I appreciate you guys being here. Miami is the center of gravity for this conversation. So that was one. Two, and this is the most important, all of these people standing up over here, you guys got to stand up too. This would not have happened. This was not me. This was not Randy. This was them. So please join me in a round of applause. And not over 3 days. This is this team over months of planning and hard work. I think some food fights on occasion, maybe some 4-letter words dropped every now and again. I can't confirm or deny that. But certainly a lot of passion that went into making sure that this convening was going to be as thoughtful and meaningful as it was. And so again, I'm grateful for the village I get to be a part of. Again, we started this 11 years ago. Christine Calabrese from U.S. Southern Command. We've been in the trenches with Southcom to ensure that this was a component that served as a force multiplier, for our partners in the U.S. government to convene thought leadership to, address these really complex issues. My last shout out will be to my brother from another mother, the MC of this event, Randy Pistano. So give me one last one. I wasn't sure if he was going to get his name right at first, but it turned out okay. I was worried for no reason. No, he did an exceptional job. And like I said, he spent 18 months at the Pentagon serving in the Assistant Secretary of War's office. And so FIU's incredibly blessed to have him back. And so with that, we conclude our 11th annual. I expect to see everyone at the 12th Annual Hemispheric Security Conference next May 2027. Thank you all.